About a year ago, I quit my job as a full-time engineer and I decided to pursue photography and videography. Now, I've made tons of mistakes along the way, right? Learned a lot of things. So here are the 10 tips that I would have for anyone who would like to start their photography and videography journey. My number one tip would be to focus on marketing, right? Marketing is definitely key. If you want to do photography and videography, you need people to know what you're doing, who you are, and they need to see your work, right? And not only do you need people to know and see your work, but you need the right people to see your work. And that's basically marketing. And that's kind of true for any photography genre that you are in. You always will need marketing, right? You always need to show your work to people, whether it's through your website, through social media, through maybe an agent. It depends on the kind of photography that you do, right? But always you will have to share your work, talk about what you do, talk about the way you work, talk about yourself to make sure that people get to know you and get to know what you do so that they can inquire your services. And this is going to take a lot of time, right? Honestly, more than half of the time of what I do is about marketing. It's about running ads. It's about, writing some blogs or publishing my work, sharing my work. It's a big part of what being a creative full-time means. So if that is not something that you're willing to really invest time in and really spend a lot of time on, I don't think that it is something that you should do. Because the reality is that marketing is kind of way more important than actually taking pictures, right? And I'm not talking about lying to the people about what you do, but letting them know what you do is honestly one of the most important things that you should do in your photography business. Now, personally, the way I learned and the way I'm still learning, right? Because I don't pretend to know everything after a year full time. There's still a lot of things that I need to learn and that I hopefully will keep sharing with you on this channel as well. Personally, I've learned a lot reading two books, right? $100 Million Offers and $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi, right? I think that a lot of you maybe know him already. He's a kind of a famous guy that has made tons of money and has really simplified the way to think about marketing, leads, product, etc. And has released two books that are broad enough that they can also be applied to photography, but also specific enough so that they give you enough actionable steps that you can actually take to, understand, okay, how to promote your business, how to get people to get interested in what you're doing, etc. So this would be my two recommendations to start as books. But yeah, just all of this to say, if you don't want to learn about marketing and if you don't want to do any marketing, then maybe this is not made for you. Now, second good tips that I would have and that I have learned also more and more is that gear doesn't matter for your clients. And when I say for your clients, I mean most of your clients. It's true that some clients will have some gear requirement. Let's say you work with a big production company and they really have some specific requirements when it comes to gear, but most of your clients don't care and they don't hire you because of your gear. They hire you because of your style, your creative vision, or the way you make them feel, etc., right? The way you work. You have to take away from the focus of gear and you have to really focus on the way you interact with people, the way you communicate with them, etc. And if you keep focusing on gear only, that is the best way not to make any money, honestly, because you're not going to convince people to give you money just by telling them, hey, look at me, I have a Fujifilm X-H2S. 99% of the people don't know what you're talking about. Okay, maybe less than 99, but you know what I mean, right? This is not a selling argument and a selling point when it comes to your services, right? They want to know what you can do, what you can't do, and if it fits and if it's exactly what they're looking for. So stop focusing on gear so much and focus on the other aspects as well. And speaking of the other aspects, meaning communication, proper delivery, proper client management, I think that one of the best investments that I made was my client relationship management tool. Basically, this is a tool, right? So it's a software that will allow you to collect leads, reply to them, track your emails, track every single client, have some specific workflow for that, track your revenue and expenses, and make sure that everything is tracked properly, right? And this has saved me tons and tons of times, right? I can't tell you the amount of time where at one point I was just spending so much time on emails because there was nothing that was automatized. As a former engineer, right? If I can automatize something, I would love to do it, right? Because I don't want to have to do exactly the same thing again and again and again manually, right? This takes too much time. But if I'm able to automatize some emails or make sure that, okay, if some clients are asking for specific information, they automatically get an answer as fast as possible. And I keep track of all of those answers, right? That's something that is very valuable to me. So this is exactly what a CRM allows you to do. Personally, I use Studio Ninja. It's not a perfect tool at all, but it really allows me to do what I need to do. And it also supports several currencies, which is great for me because I worked with clients locally, but also tourists who, are using USD or other currencies, right? So having this kind of tools that really help you keep track and manage your client and really manage a full workflow for photo shoot is really something that I recommend anyone to do as early as possible. You might not have many clients at the beginning, but when you get busy, it's not the moment when you want to think about those things because you won't have time to think about those things. I was extremely busy at one point of the year and I didn't have time to set up my CRM. I did it right after the busy season, right? And I wish I had that tool when I was very busy. I would have saved me so much time and so much trouble in some cases. So yeah, I definitely recommend the CRM. And if you want to try Studio Ninja, I do have a coupon code that I will leave down in the description. That will just give you 20% off. So if you want to give it a try and you're a photographer looking for a CRM, just give it a try and see if that's for you or not. I think that they do offer a free trial and then you can choose to adopt the software or not. It's not sponsored, it's just me giving you my opinion on it. It's not a perfect tool, but they are responsive. If you need help, the support is usually pretty quick to reply. There are some features that I would like them to add, but yeah, they're still developing and adding features here and there. So yeah. All right, let's talk about contracts, right? Now, personally, when I started, I was not doing any contracts, right? I was just, over a shake of hand. I was, going on shoots and hoping for the best, right? And when everything is okay, it's not a problem. Like, it's perfect like that until it is not, right? And when it's not okay, that's the moment where you wish you had a contract in place. It can happen that there are some misunderstanding, or maybe that the client, doesn't really have the best ethic or doesn't really have your interest in mind as well, right? And in that case, if you don't have a clear contract in place, it can really put you in a difficult position. And I've learned that the hard way, right? And a contract is just basically a common understanding, a document that put in place common understanding for like timing, for deliverables, for conditions around your photo shoot or around your work, right? And if you don't have a contract in place when you start shooting, some issues can happen. Just to tell you a few stories, I've had like clients canceling at the last minute on me, right? But because I had the contract in place and I made them pay in advance, it was okay, right? I had other clients accepting the deliverable, meaning that they accepted the pictures. And then 2 months after, they saw some random pictures on Instagram and they wanted that particular edit style. So they asked me, hey, can you redo the old edit style? Because that's what we want now. We don't want the previous edit style, so please redo it for free. Which in the contract, it was properly, this case was covered as well. So I was lucky there. I've had a lot of different cases, right? And if you don't have a contract in place, you're gonna have some troubles, honestly. And it doesn't have to be perfect from the go, right? Like, I've iterated on my contract, right? I've had several versions where, okay, I run into some issues, so I added some clause here and there because I did not really think of a particular case. Then it happened to me, right? So, I thought, okay, it could have happened. And so just having at least a base that you can iterate on is going to protect you, is going to protect your client, and honestly, it's just, I think, good practice overall. So if you're thinking of getting paid for your photography, please put some contract in place. In most of the reviews that I get from my clients, whether they are B2B or B2C clients, the pictures are good, I'm easy to work with, and I make them feel comfortable. And I think that the two last points, right, is extremely important and is something that people really underestimate, because people will just work with the people that they like working with, right? If they don't like you, they are not going to call you back. Like, a lot of people can take good pictures, right? But having good communication, really having that, kind of human interaction and make people feel comfortable, make people feel like, okay, they are appreciated, and you're not looking at your watch all the time, or you are trying to really get them the best result possible. That is something that is, in my opinion, something that people do not pay attention to enough. People will keep working with the people that they like. At the end of the day, we are humans, right? So just don't be an ass. Behave properly, be on time, be clean. I mean, that's right. That's obviously right. Present yourself properly and just be a nice person. And I'm sure that you would get further referral in the future. Money management is another topic that is not discussed enough, I believe. And that I think a lot of people make mistakes, right? Especially in this kind of work, it's kind of seasonal a lot of time. There are periods where you get a lot of work. There are periods that you get way less work, right? And it's due to, depending on the industry, it's due to either you're working in a seasonal industry or maybe due to advertising budget, etc., right? If you spend your money as soon as you get it, you're going to run into trouble. And I know that it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to reinvest in my business and I'm going to buy that camera because if I buy that camera, I'm sure I'm going to get better jobs. Or if I have this piece of lighting, I'm sure the client will pay me more. But most of the time, that's not the case. That's just something that you tell yourself to justify spending money on something, right? Justify spending money on something that you like. And if you're not able to really control your gas, right? And by gas, I mean, your gear acquisition syndrome. If you don't control that, and if you don't really ask yourself, okay, is this gonna really 100% make me more money if I buy it? Especially as a business, you're gonna run into a lot of money trouble real quick as soon as the season gets a bit drier in a sense, right? So yeah, I think that money management is something that you really have to pay attention to if you want to start photography full time. Just don't spend money on every single piece of gear that comes out. Otherwise, paying the bill is going to be a bit tougher, right? So yeah, be mindful of that. And I think that we are all guilty of that. Saying, hey, maybe if I buy this lens, I'm going to get better pictures. So maybe I'll be able to get more clients, or I'll be able to increase my price. But as I told you at first, most of your clients won't care about your gear. It's really how you use it, right? So if you can use it in a way that justify higher prices for sure, and that you know that people is going to hire you for that, or maybe you can rent out that piece of gear, it makes sense. But most of the time, I think that it's kind of something that we tell ourselves to justify our gas. I don't recommend working for free, but hear me out. For me, working for free means that you don't get anything in return, right? You just spend your time, you work, and you hope for the best that the client will call you back for actual paid work. But in my experience, this doesn't happen, right? People who make you work for free don't tend to give you paid work later. They just tend to call you back again to get more free work. But there are some exceptions, right? I would work for free, and it's not really for free, right? If I'm learning something, right? Let's say I'm practicing a specific technique and I get an opportunity to use that particular technique, then I would be okay to work that. For me, it's kind of a practice tool. I'm getting basically new skills, right? I would also work for free if I'm able to network with someone and work with someone that could, lead to new opportunities in the future. Not necessarily the person that is hiring me for the job, right? Hiring, but let's say a DP or director or even just a person on set that I would like to know. I would like to get to know them and also work with them in the future. I think it's a good idea, right? And of course, if it's just for fun with people that your friends, I think it's okay to just, have fun and shoot for fun. I also do that, and I think that you should do that, right? Because those are people that you've known over the years, that you value, and that's a complete different story. But working for free without getting anything in return, you get a lot of those TFP for exposure. I don't believe in that, and I tend to stay away from that because most of the time you're just spending time with someone who doesn't necessarily have experience. You are providing the gear, you're providing the lighting, you're providing everything. They get images for their portfolio, they're just starting their career, and so you don't get that much exposure. And even if you get exposure don't pay the bills, right? I mean, I'm not gonna eat exposure, so I tend to stay away from that. I think it's also important not to go after every single client, but to really focus on the good clients that you have, right? There are a lot of clients that have your best interest in mind, meaning that they are happy to work with you, they are easy to work with, there is a good kind of communication, it's really easy, right? There are others that you always have to chase for payment, you always have to, even if you go above and beyond, they are never satisfied, or they always have something to say, etc. And it is kind of draining to work with these kind of people, right? And at the end, yes, maybe you get paid, but you've spent so much time and so much energy on it. You could have spent that time and energy either acquiring new clients or just spending more time on the clients that actually, give you full fulfillment and also provide you value, right? Like are really easy to work with and are really fun to work with as well. Yeah, I think it's important to also kind of separate this kind of clients, right? And really over time, if you're able to, discard more and more the bad bucket. Because I know it's difficult, and myself, I understand that as well, right? It's like at first you are trying to go after every single client that you can. But the problem with that is that your calendar kind of gets filled with clients that don't really either bring any money or don't really value your work. So I think that if you are starting a business, try to be a bit selective. And I know, again, it's counterintuitive and it's also scary at the same time, but be selective with your clients. Because if you are not, you will end up wasting more time. Time management, I think, is also something that I have learned, and I'm still learning because I struggle with that. When I started, basically, it was I was working pretty much, 17 to 18 hours a day, non-stop every day, right? And by working, I was not necessarily, shooting and editing, but whenever I would receive an email or a message or anything, right, I would answer straight away and really kind of hustle, like that. And that's kind of my personality trait as well, is that when I'm doing something, I'm kind of like really into it, I would say. And that I think that this is a good in a sense that you get a lot of stuff done, but at the same time, you completely lose any private life, right? Like if I'm always shooting, always answering to emails, always basically on, there is no moment where I'm off and I'm just, enjoying and relaxing, which is also quite important, right? If you want to avoid burning out, if you want to stay creative and you don't want this everything, right, to just be another job. So yeah, my advice would be to, hey, just schedule time for work, schedule some working blocks, and also schedule your time off, schedule your time where you can just relax and yeah, just take some time off as well. And finally, my last advice would be to keep shooting for fun. Over the past year, I've also, taken on some projects just for fun, right? And I've also kept shooting street photography because I enjoy it as well. And I think that it is very important if you want to still keep enjoying yourself. If you don't want to just burn out and just feel like, okay, the camera is just unbearable now because it's just work, right? And yeah, so make sure that you still find fun in photography and videography. And for me, it's through this channel, because this is not my main source of business at all, right? This is where I share my opinion on things. I'm sharing my experience, etc., right? So this is also part of the fun. But also I shoot for fun on some projects or with some friends, etc. And I think that this is important because, yeah, having fun is important for me. Might not necessarily be for everyone, but I personally advise people to, always find a bit of fun in what they do, otherwise it won't last. As I told you, it's been a year, right? So I don't pretend to know everything, right? I don't know everything, I'm still learning, I'm still going onto that journey, right? But yeah, let me know what you think about the pieces of advice that I had in this video. Maybe you are a photographer that has been doing that for way longer, right? Let me know down in the comment if you have any pieces of advice for anyone, and maybe for me as well. I'm always, reading the comment and checking, and always open to get some advice from people. And if you haven't yet, make sure to check my newsletter, because I share this kind of articles and this kind of videos as well. So make sure to subscribe to the newsletter as well, and I'll see you in the next video.